So, to start us off, fellas, we are going to talk about an incident that happened recently over in England. And we're going to talk about a very important aspect of it, and what stemmed from it. So, for those of you who do not know, there was an incident this past Sunday where three Black soccer players on the England team were basically verbally accosted and called all kind of racial slurs and etc. due to how they played at the end of the game. So there's a lot of different aspects of this to consider and talk about. But the gist of what happened was and I'm going to read a portion of the article, and of course, we will share a link, and everyone is encouraged to research and review things on their own. But the gist of the matter and how it relates to what we're going to be specifically discussing is that some censorship on social media happened as a result of this incident, right? And that's really the area and the specific topic we're going to speak on. So our official question is social media censorship a way to combat racist abuse? So, um, I am going to start us off here, fellas. And, my specific answer to that question is that it is a little too convoluted for me to say yes or no. And I'll tell you why. So, for me, there were some actions that were taken by some people in charge who made sure that those who did berate these gentlemen with all these racist comments and messages and behavior, that they did, seek retribution for that, for lack of a better term. But in general, I am just against censorship because I feel like if you open up the floodgates for that, it leads to a lot more censorship in general that we will face. And that's never a good thing, right? So in other words, you look at certain countries where their people aren't allowed to log online until the government says so, or people aren't allowed to speak on certain subjects or even research certain subjects without either the permission of their government or being investigated by their government for doing so. And for me, it just feels like censorship in any form is the first step towards that, towards a completely like authoritarian government that is going to try to completely control how we move, our thoughts, what we say, what we do, and etc. And I'm against that. I'm totally against that, right? And at the same time, I do think that there are certain times where certain things just need to be addressed and removed. For instance, a few years ago, there was a video of a lady actually being murdered, and people were passing that video along for a while before authorities stepped in and said, we're going to find all the avenues we can to remove that video. And in that case, that was appropriate. So for me, the answer is not so cut and dry as yes or no. And I'm referring to censorship in general. With this particular incident, just so everyone has the background on what happened here, and I'm going to read this. This is from CBS News via the Yahoo News site. And it says, London, 3 Black players on English national soccer team have been subjected to racist abuse online after England lost to Italy in the European Championship final Sunday night. The players, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Bukayo Saka, helped carry the England team through the tournament, but missed penalty shots in the final match against Italy. The abuse has been condemned by leaders across the country, including Britain's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, London's mayor, the Football Association, who called on social media companies to take accountability and action to ban abusers. So that's really the stem of where our question comes from. Again, for me, it's a matter of there needing to be a delicate balance. I am 100% opposed to any kind of environment where we are totally censored and not able to say what we need to say, research what we need to research, have the appropriate conversations, and generally any type of authoritarian government is in charge. But at the same time, as per the example I gave about the woman whose murder was on videotape and that videotape was being distributed, I think that for certain instances, there is a necessity. That's kind of my view on it. Pretty cut and dry. For me, there isn't just a yes or no answer to that, but I definitely think it's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you, PAT. What say you, sir?
All right, so I'll say that obviously what happened was atrocious, and I'm saying obviously because I'm saying obviously for me, but I'm gonna speak more so to the social media censorship aspect of this whole thing, and really most likely in general. But to answer the question directly, social media censorship is most certainly not the way to combat racist abuse. First of all, you're not changing the way people feel. Second of all, censoring people is not going to stop them from being racist. And third of all, social media censorship is Orwellian in nature. Orwellian in the sense where these social media platforms are playing the thought police. What's going on nowadays is straight out of George Orwell's book, 1984. For those who are familiar with that, if you have not read 1984, I would suggest reading that book, because a lot of what has taken place in that book, some of that stuff is actually happening in the real world. So George Orwell, 1984. For those who aren't familiar, I would suggest reading that book. The fact of the matter is, we all have freedom of speech. That's what the First Amendment is all about. That's what the First Amendment says, right? Now, I understand that there are consequences. And when it comes to social media platforms, they can censor people or ban people if they so choose. I mean, after all, it is their platform. It's their business. It's their company. So they do have that right. I could acknowledge that. However, I've always said that, and when I say that, I'm talking censorship, is a slippery slope. Because basically what these companies are doing is they're placing themselves in a position to play thought police. Really, the whole point of these platforms is to be social. That's why, I mean, that's why they're social media, social networks, for people to be social. So when
I definitely agree. But sorry to cut you off, PAT. I just feel that they need to define the word social for all these social media companies, because you can't be using the word social, and it involves people. But that's just me saying that right now.
No, I actually agree with what you just said, because, yeah, if people can only say certain things, or we're gonna start labeling certain things as hate speech, or people are gonna get banned for saying certain things, whatever that may be, whatever goes against the mainstream narrative, or whatever some people might take to be offensive, or whatever. These companies need to define what quote unquote social means, because they throw this term out there, social, but really it's a general term. And with social, people are socializing, that people are going on these platforms to socialize. And with socializing, obviously people have different opinions, different views, different outlooks. People are expressing themselves constantly. That's all we're inundated with on these social media platforms, basically people's opinions, among other things. So there's always going to be something that can be taken to be offensive. It's one of those things where it's in the eye of the beholder. You know what they say, beauty, or in some cases ugly, is in the eye of the beholder. So so that's why I think censorship can be a very slippery slope, because that at the end of the day, people will say what they want. That comes with the territory. So the racist abuse that the football players out there in the UK got is standard OP for racist. When I heard about this incident, of course, I'm having that WTF expression in my head. But at the same time, I do know that this is standard OP. This is what racist people do. This is just what they do. It's not just to the football players, but they're doing this to just black people in general. Whether they're a football player, basketball player, baseball player, whichever, or not, or something else, that's what racist people do. Obviously, it's wrong. And it shouldn't have taken place, but let's be real. And let's be really real. The internet is a playground for cowards. A lot of racist people happen to be cowards. So it's easy for them to jump online and make racist remarks. You know why? Because they know that they're behind a computer and a keyboard, and they won't suffer any immediate consequences. Yeah, they might get banned, but that's really about it. And they know, they're fully aware of this. That type of behavior has been going on since who knows how long. But nowadays, it seems like social media is putting the hammer down a bit more. But to wrap it up, I would say overall, I don't think social media censorship is the way to deal with racism online. All it does is push some of these clowns to go and make their own platform where they can just continue to be racist. You're not actually combating racism with censorship. Racist abuse online can only be combated with counter racism online. The abuse just needs to be completely ignored or drowned out by people who take it upon themselves to make the people being abusive online stop. That's just my whole take on it. That's really how you would combat racist abuse. It's going to have to be counter racism. That's really what's going to have to be done, because censorship is not going to make these people stop. What these people will do is just find another way to do it. That's it. So that's my take.
Thank you, Mr. PAT, for sharing. Mr. Eman, we're going to go ahead and throw it to you. What say you, sir?
Okay. So first things first. When you look at this situation, it shouldn't shock you at all. I've never been to the UK, but I've met a few people from the UK only based upon, me networking in the field that I'm in. But I know the UK is still a racist nation. It's probably by far one of the biggest diverse nations in the world. It I would say it shocks a lot of people, but yeah. But you can't really change people's behaviors unless they're going to change that behavior. If you see, when you hear the word behave, you hear the word be and you hear the word have, you know, you know. And when you start putting that word and you put that word together and you say, towards be, that one person, So when you look at your behavior, it's based upon your environment. And for many people, don't want to change their behavior because they enjoy their environment, you know. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't have done whatever they said to those soccer players, all penalty kicks. It's just a game at the end of the day. It's form of entertainment. Just another form of entertainment. But to take it up to that level, that's when you start seeing those crazy behaviors, when you start seeing the real person, But then I feel when it comes to social media, it's the whole blame game. We need to blame it on somebody and whatnot. Like, here comes an example. I know a lot of people probably don't know about, the Craigslist killer and whatnot, but, they blame Craigslist because, he was out here killing women. Mom was like, can you blame him for killing women? Did he use a platform to, to put that in? Yeah. But we forget about people's actions, So now when we're using like social media now as this whole censorship thing, well, we're not putting blame on social media. We're trying to blame. Let me rephrase that. We're blaming. We're not focused so much on the individual, but we're blaming social media for their censorship. I definitely hate censorship because the simple fact is I've been blocked off Facebook like 6 different times off of very silly things, like general comments, simple general comments.
Same.
Simple. Not even. I can't even say if it was racial. I can't even say simple comments, Like one of the comments was because I was saying the word coon so much, they kept blocking me and put me in Facebook jail because I said the word coon. I don't even say coon that often, but it wasn't directed towards anybody. I don't call people coons, I don't. But because I was using it in a context correctly based upon an opinion, they threw me in Facebook jail. You see? Just like PAT stay, the thought police. That is what most of these social medias are. The thought police, They want to control your thoughts because they want to censorship so that you don't have your own freedom of speech. But like I said earlier before, what is the real definition behind the word social and whatnot? Because if we're not here to learn and be better and do better, then what's the point of these, social media? Like, what's the point of it? We use it for networking, but we also use it so we can reach other people across the world. If it wasn't because of Facebook, I wouldn't have met people and network with people outside of the US and whatnot. So I can get a good glimpse about what's going on the other side of the world, things that I'm not seeing because nobody wants me to see it. But it's better for me to go find someone and seek someone out that will give me the information, tell me like, oh, that's what's going down in the UK. Oh, that's what's going down in Africa. Oh, that's what's going down in South America, because they're not going to tell you. You got to go seek that for yourself, whatnot. And now dealing with this situation, with the whole football players, I feel like they're just covering their tracks because everyone knows how racist and discriminate the UK really is. It's been going on for years because a lot of people don't even know what the UK slave trade actually, you know, people don't know what it actually is and whatnot, you know, and because many people don't know what it is, won't see that this is a continuing act that goes on. Excuse me, every day that's over there. That these people, Queen Elizabeth, her mother, went to Africa, stole children from there to bring them over to the UK and changed them, and then they still hate them and whatnot after the rape and incest that they've been doing for years, you know. You know, I just feel social media just needs to take a step back and literally show people their true colors. Because the more you keep hiding shit, people will seek it and will find it. Regardless, it won't change anything. So I would say stop being the thought police. Y'all definitely need to stop being the thought police. Y'all have no control. If you feel like you're protecting your platform, that's a bull face motherfucking lie. The biggest lie in the world. Because you can't tell me that. Because years ago, there wasn't that much censorship on Facebook now it's to the point where like people are snitching, telling on themselves and doing wild shit, but now you want to cover your tracks about this shit and whatnot. When people actually have meaningful things to say and want to share things that is actually factual and true, y'all just keep throwing these fact checker shit to be like, oh no, that's not true and whatnot. I'm just like, hold on, how do you give me the right to know what's true and false and whatnot?
Thought policing going on.
Yeah, that's a lot of thought policing, and I like that term, and I'm going to use that term now on. So when I see bullshit, I'm like, yo, stop being the thought police, for goodness sakes, man. Can't tell me how to think. I have my own free will of thinking, so I can change my aspect to what's going on in my mind and my thoughts, so I can clearly make better decisions and whatnot. See, many people don't want to do that, and because many people don't want to do that, this is where we're at every single day and whatnot. It's the same revolving door I keep talking about and whatnot. Nobody to actually have change, you want to make sure you change thyself first. These motherfuckers don't want to do that. Because if they did, y'all wouldn't have to do all this crazy shit for this whole thought policing shit that happened in the UK. Knowing the UK is still racist to this day, and they can't even be real about the shit that's been going on for years and years over there. Like, it's the shit that needs to stop. Like, it just needs to stop. And I'm about to end my point on this. I'm gonna just end it from here. If we cannot stop this thought policing shit to stop, I feel like we all just need to start moving away from these Facebook and Twitters and whatnot. Because if you're giving people the option to post whatever they want to post, it's because of their First Amendment right. No. But you shouldn't be taking shit down because, you don't want people to see how people actually are. You want to just be this thought police and put people in bubbles. This is why a lot of people are closed-minded today, because they're not willing to open up their thought of conscious so you can actually see what, not just this matrix, but what this universe is really about. Because in the matrix, shit, it's nothing but hell and whatnot. But the goal is to make sure that your hell isn't like the hell that's walking around every single day. You want to make sure that you're living in heaven, but not living in hell. Because the more your mind's in hell, best believe it's going in the wrong place. Because if you don't see highly of yourself, then that's why you will always be living in the same place, which is hell. And that's why we always keep seeing shit like this every single day. So I'm going to just end my thought basically we need to get the thought police to stop being the thought police and show everyone the real truth so that we can better ourselves as people every single day. And I'm gonna just end it from there.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing.